See, and then it's just over.
It's just like a very abrupt.
It seems
ending.
like it should continue.
It should. I don't know if there's really a way to fix that. That's all right.
Well,
we're just trying to get people's attention.
They catch me mid scream, like humming the song. So
I might have unmuted it, so maybe they heard you in the background.
Thank
I don't
you,
know.
I appreciate that.
But one of these days, they're going to get you. They're going to get you. You are going to. They're going to. Everybody's going to hear you screeching and singing or something.
Whatever. Well, you can't sing it because there's no words. So it's just
we can
like
create words for it.
Yeah.
Dun, 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 dun.
Okay then. Hi everybody.
Good afternoon, and welcome back. Welcome to Live from Rabs from inside
Rabs Country Lanes.
We are inside.
We're inside.
We're inside.
We're inside, and we're on the low end. We moved down yesterday. Kind of like it down here. It's a different perspective.
The difference is we are closer to Jimmy and Michael.
Yes, and they're a little noisy.
We did say at some point we'd meet, but they halted on this project. You know, when Jimmy starts something, Jimmy has to finish it, and when he gets it in his head, he's going to make it happen, which is one of the reasons why we love him. Jimmy, there's a hole. What's happening here? What are you guys working on?
Come and tell us what you're working on, Jim. Come over and say hello.
You can stay there and tell us if you want. So lane 19, the gutter is out.
This capping.
You got to keep coming. You got to get behind us. You got to go behind us.
Come over here.
This capping right here.
Keep going. There we go.
There we go. The gutter capping.
That I'm working on is about 10 degrees out of level, all the way halfway down the lane. So when you bowl it, looks like it's crooked, which it is.
So when you say out of level, you mean out of level side to side or this way?
Side to side.
Oh, I thought maybe you could tilt it a little bit that way, and then the ball will come screaming up faster.
No, it's just the cap. It's not the lane. We're not moving the lane.
Oh, just the cap. Okay. All right.
You don't want to.
Yeah, it's not the lane. It's just the capping. It was bothering him. So of course that was bothering him, and the gutter there was you said was sinking.
The lane machine would catch on the edge of the gutter because it's too low. So, yeah.
Right.
All right. Well, there you go. That's an update on
one of Jimmy's projects.
On Jimmy's project.
Lane 19. The gutter in lane 19.
The pro shop is coming along. Painting should be done within the next 2 days. It is a big project.
There's just stuff everywhere.
It's moving a lot of things. But we're happy with the way the colors came out. It looks nice. And we're going to do the floors after we're done painting. And then maybe we'll take a little sneak peek picture.
Okay. Whatever you do, you're going to take with you.
Yes. And there it is.
Yeah.
That is what it is, right?
So happy Monday.
Happy Monday.
It is Monday. You know, Naz, I actually just looked and saw that says day 49. I don't know if – I think I changed it today. what's 31? 40? Yeah, that's right. It should be right. I mean, if it's not, oh well.
It's off by a day, maybe.
I don't think so.
Can't imagine it will be off by more than that. I'm sure somebody will. I'm sure somebody will update it.
No, that's
well,
right.
it's episode 44.
Right.
It's 5 days.
So it's May the 4th, and it is episode 44.
May the 4th be with you.
Oh, for those Star Wars fans out there, happy Star Wars Day. It's not Happy May 4th. It's Happy Star Wars Day.
Happy Star Wars Day. Yes. I'm an old school, like the original Star Wars episodes. I mean, I've seen some of the newer ones, and they're good. But I'm like the old school episode person. So
we're fans. We like, and it's funny. Anthony and I, after all the new, we had missed a couple of the new ones in between, so we went back and watched them.
Right.
You should do the chronological order watching.
I think I will do that.
It's hard because you're watching all this new animation and then the old animation.
Right.
I will tell you though, it puts the story into
because
really
it goes
different
back,
perspective.
right? It goes back. It goes. The story is here, and then
It's the prequel.
the newer episodes are the prequel. Yeah.
And then you got the afters, and then you got the in betweens.
So I will do a chronological. I believe
it's a fun exercise. It's fun to go
when
go
I
back
have
and
more
watch.
days to waste. I actually Billions was back on last night,
Oh.
and I am a season and a half behind.
Okay.
So I am now going to catch up on Billions because I really did like that show.
I never got into it.
That's a very good pitting of good against evil, and you never know which is good or evil. So I like that show. I like.
How far did you get in Money Heist?
I got through 2 or maybe 3 episodes.
Okay. You can't stop. You have to keep going.
Yeah,
Keep going.
I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna split it between that and Billions.
And the same thing with that show. You want to not root for the bad people, right? You want to not root. No, you are. You're rooting for them to do what they're
because
doing.
they set you up at the beginning by giving you all their kind of backstories, so you kind of it's kind of hard to dislike somebody when the more you know them.
Yeah,
I think so.
It's one of those shows. It really has. I've sat on the edge of the seat almost every episode as you go because you want. It's almost you want more, but you don't know.
Right, you don't know which road it's going to go.
You don't know, and
like Ozark was
the way. But the way that this one works, like there's the plan. They have a plan set in motion, and they've been so far ahead that all of a sudden there's a halt, and you go, "Oh wow, did they not think of that?" And then how do you get out of this? But it's written so well where they do a good job at making you really think. Yeah,
and the fact that it's dubbed that didn't even strike me.
Yeah, the first episode of watching, I actually thought so Money Heist is on Netflix if anybody hasn't watched, and it was originally it's filmed in Spanish. It must have been on a Spanish network and then brought into Netflix because you could tell by the way that the episodes are numbered. They're a little off from what was published and then what appears in there. Being a step-down bowling pairing is like Billions good against evil. Yeah, thanks, Brian. Real nice. Real nice. So when you watch the first episode, if you don't know, they're talking Spanish, but it's English dubbed over.
Right. I had to actually go into my settings and change it because I was like, I'm not watching subtitles.
No.
I can't watch the picture and then read it. Yeah.
So it makes you think that it's out of sync. So at first I was getting ready to exit Netflix and come back thinking that just the voice, and then we realized what's happening.
Right.
So
good though. It was good.
You do get some subtitles because they leave some Spanish-speaking parts. My favorite subtitles are the dumbest. So the police vehicles are there. Policia Oficial. You know what it is.
Right.
But they put a subtitle, police.
Say what it is. Right. Well.
So we laugh every time we see
they're covering all bases.
Yeah. But it's written really well. It's produced really well. It's filmed in multiple countries. And so we're on to, it's not season, and this is where it differs. It's part 3, they call it. So it's one of those where the story kind of continues. Like in some of these things, you have the same cast, but a new storyline. Like American Horror Story type thing.
Yeah.
It's not that. Yeah. Right now, the same storyline.
It's the same story.
Now, I don't know if after part 4, which was just released, they're going to use the same cast for something totally different. Right. Which is difficult.
Because the story is kind of ended?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. The story's good.
Still going?
So anyway.
Still going. Okay.
So another add it to your list, your Netflix binge watching list. Billions, I never got into it. My mother loves
Really?
that show.
Oh, that show is
I've
great.
watched it here and there, but never. I mean, it's another show.
Good.
It's just another.
I understand. And last night on American Idol, you didn't watch?
I just watched her video. And of course, good old Billy Joel.
She knocked it out of the park. Julia Gargano was, honestly, the way I felt, she was the best performance of last night.
So I did see a little bit where last week she was number 5. And they had praised every single person that performed last night. And when she specifically spoke, they said that they were all good and young talent. So, last night, maybe there were some bumps from some of the comments that I saw from the judges. It maybe wasn't as.
I didn't think the performances. Well,
I didn't watch it all, so I'm not sure yet.
I think they kind of got tied into. Because it wasn't like a free pick of a song. They had to pick a song that tied into their home, either their hometown or something that made them think of home. So, I think they were good choices. But to me, by far, she was the best. And the girl that they saved one person after they had the top 10, they did one save.
Oh.
She did Miranda Lambert's The House That Built Me. And I thought she did a great job. And her name escapes me right now, but I thought she did a good job. But everybody was okay. You know, they were good. And Katy Perry came out with a...
Did she have the same thing on again?
No, she had a toilet paper thing.
Oh, the toilet paper. Yeah, I'm sorry.
But then she took it off. So, but yeah, she's just trying to make light of the whole situation.
Yeah, and she does. She is that person.
Oh,
So
Lord.
the governor spoke today. There was a little light at the end of the tunnel, a little update. It appears to be that we fall into the governor's plan of our phase 4, which, if there's any inclination, that looks closer to a July opening. If all is good, it looks like there's a 14-day window between each phase.
Each phase, right.
So starting with May 15th, and then 2 weeks and 2 weeks, 2 weeks, 2 weeks. So
right, as long as things stay steady, I would think that's a fair projection.
And I didn't catch any specific conversation about our types of venues, but what I have heard in some of that space, they're concerned about people congregating in recreation entertainment.
And that's exactly
what we've been talking about.
Right. And that's exactly what they said, that phase 4 was going to be entertainment centers, movie theaters, and he keeps reiterating that groups are not your friend, you know, that being in a group of people is going to be the thing that they're avoiding the most. So listen, do I think they're on the right road? Do I think that finally it seems like we are getting some I want to call it breathing room a little bit. Yeah, it seems like things are getting better. And we just have to keep moving forward and not get overly excited or too far ahead of ourselves, because we still have a way to go.
Well, and the concern certainly is that, and it makes sense. If you looked at the federal government's phases, we would fall into phase 1 technically. And so around the country, in some of the states, there are bowling centers opening. But to your point, especially here in New York City, we have to be more diligent. So I get it. Do I want to be open tomorrow? Yes.
Yeah.
At the same time, we've got to be mindful of that. So it looks like our opening is probably closer to July as we stay. So we'll see.
And it was the first time I heard them mention that they were going to look to businesses to have a plan in place of how they were going to deal with their reopening and business going forward. How are you going to deal with social distancing or, you know, disinfecting and, you know, all of that. So, you know, at least we're having the discussion now. Whereas 2 weeks ago, there was no discussion of, you know, we're not even going down that road.
Well, no, because we're trying to get to the reopen phase, right? So, and we've got some plans in place, and we'll take it. We still don't know what, even if, let's say it's a July opening, we still don't even know what that's going to look like.
What's going to be, right?
Hopefully by then, distancing is still a thing, but maybe not as prominent as it is today. You know, we don't know, but I'm assuming there's going to be a lot of those, but it just might not be the precautions we are today. We might lax a little bit by then, but we still have to keep that in mind.
And that's exactly why I believe they're doing it in phases, because, you know, it gives them a chance to test the waters a little bit and see how stringent they really need to be. They're talking about this new tracking program that Bloomberg is helping to come up with. And so they'll be able to trace the cases more and find out if they're more concentrated in an area or they're coming from someplace in particular. So,
Kevin,
very funny, Kevin.
I did not hear the governor say no karaoke for 2 years. I'm just saying that is not what I heard the governor say. I just saw that entertainment facilities have until phase 4. So nice try. Good luck with that. That's your Wednesday night bartender, ladies and gentlemen, for those that are watching. And Brian, good question. Yeah, so currently we had the 2 USBC Championship Awards dinners, yes, down USBC, and they have been rescheduled, both with August dates. Again, still a little bit unknown, but we're forging for I looked. Nazareth, I believe Tuesday.
It was the 11th, Tuesday, August 11th
for the kids.
for the kids, and then Friday,
The 14th.
August 14th for the adult
for the
dinner.
adult championship dinner. So both events the same week, August 11th, August 14th, still at LaGretti Staten, and we're going to celebrate all of our
Yes,
champions.
and we just finalized that last week, and we weren't really going to announce it till we saw where we were this week. So
looks like we'll be able to go forward with that. The adult dinner, we have a Hall of Fame. We actually have people being inducted into Hall of Fame, which an announcement will come later this week. And I think we're going to have the Hall of Famers on and have a conversation.
That would be awesome.
I think that'd be great.
Yeah.
We do have a guest with us today. This is not just a show about nothing, but we wanted to provide some update and have some conversation. Joe LoVerde finally was able to join us today. We thought he would be joining us last week, and he'll tell you he had a deadline to reach. So, Joe, thanks for popping in with us today. We'll get him in here. Yes, Brian, letters are going to be sent out as soon as all the details are finalized.
All of the champions have already received save the dates for the original date. So once we finalize the other awards, everybody will get the same letter with plenty of time to attend. I'm going to assume they're going to go out in July.
Yeah.
Once we get closer to the date.
Yeah, once we know
Probably
a little bit,
5
and we
to
know
6
a little bit
weeks
more.
out.
We
Right.
really don't. We're as of today. We're in phase 4. Restaurants are in before that,
Right.
but we also don't know what a venue like
It's going to be
hall
catering hall is really
is gonna look
considered.
like.
Right.
So it could while we have an event with several hundred people, could we? We don't know. So we still have some unknowns. We're planning towards it. We're forging forward.
Yep.
We want to have the events. We want to celebrate our champions. Celebrate this past season. But just bear with us.
Yeah.
We know as much as you do. We don't know. We don't have any inside information. There's no little bug in our ear. We're trying. We're doing the best with what we've got. So before we bring Joe in, we've been showing some old photos. I've got an old photo. This is pre-Rabs. This is old school
Old country lanes. Oh, okay.
This appeared. So the Staten Island Advance does the old archive pages, and it's in the theme of the Advance. So check this out. I don't remember the year on this article. Go ahead, get closer to the screen, Joe. So they were doing some utility work on Highland Boulevard, and if you look to the right, you'll see the bowling ball and bowling pin country lane sign. This is going towards the Verrazano Bridge and Highland Boulevard.
Actually, probably Highland Boulevard looks like that most days.
It does. There's not much of a difference here.
Nope.
No, there's not much of a difference except for the median not as wide, right? I don't think the median's as wide as.
It doesn't seem like it, but sometimes you can't tell in a picture.
Obviously, there was no car dealership here, but there was that ugly blue building for a long period of time. Miniature golf behind us, yeah, Jim? I didn't know that. Yeah, there is on this. We're pointing as if you guys know what we're pointing at, but I'm pointing out to Delaware Avenue, and so which is the right side of that picture. Yeah. So Jimmy says behind the bowling center there was a miniature golf course.
That I don't remember, Jim.
Yeah, I remember going there when we were
It
little.
was closed
Used to have
down.
a big skull.
About what
Used to have
year?
that big skull in there. You remember?
1978.
Was there
Interesting.
until the 90s.
I don't remember.
Till the
that.
night?
No, can't be.
No.
78, it was grass growing there. It was abandoned.
I remember a skull over there. There used to be a big.
Might have just been abandoned then.
Yeah, it was
You sure
abandoned.
that wasn't on one of your walks, Piero?
No, there used to be a skull over there for mini golf.
Anyway, check it out. Back here,
Interesting.
Country Lanes, 19.
That was an oldie.
70 something. Yeah, pretty cool. When you pull up that archive page, you zoom in and you see different
Yeah,
things.
yeah. They have
We've
cool
got a
stuff.
couple of different ones in there, and I like the. If you go back and look at the old tax photos, you could see the old building.
Oh yeah, I do
And
that.
about
yeah.
6 months ago, they released another new batch. So anyway, in theme of the Staten Island Advance and our guest today, so Joe LoVerde, welcome to Live from Rabs. Finally,
Hi, Joe.
Hey, Naz. Hey, Frank. How are you?
we're doing all right. How are you?
I'm good. I just want to make sure you understand that just because I'm on doesn't mean it's still not going to be a show about nothing.
Great. Set us up for our viewers. It's all good. It's all good. We've had several. We have a lot of shows about nothing because we could just sit here and talk all
Just
day.
chit chat.
But you know what? They still watch, and they still come in and view, and they go on later and watch, and we get text messages, and they still. So that means they must love us, I guess, right, Joe?
Absolutely. I think what you guys are is phenomenal. You know, you guys started it really quickly, and I'm home working, and in some ways I'm busier than I was than when I was working in the office. So I can't be in every day, but I have been catching bits and pieces, and it's great that you guys are doing this because it gives people, allows them to stay connected to you guys, and also give them something to do and somewhere where they can connect.
Yeah.
Right. And of course, we're not getting too crazy. We know you're in lockdown, which is why we're doing this. Oh, and see, Michelle says she loves us. So thank you, Michelle. We love you too. So Joe, one, you look nice and comfortable. How are you holding up? What's going on in the LoVerde household these days?
This was an exciting weekend because, first of all, we, based on a tip from watching a show last week, my wife and I, Gloria and I, we played bingo with the North Shore Rotary Club
Friday.
on Friday night. And other than the initial anxiety over whether or not we were going to figure out how to connect, since you know, we're not the most technologically adept people, we figured it out, and we printed our cards out, and Gloria actually won the first game. So, but it was a lot of fun, and that, you know, we told everybody about it afterwards, and I think that if you guys do it again, if the Rotary Club does it again, it's gonna blow up. I think a lot more people will do it.
And that segues perfectly.
We are bingo night number 2 is this Friday at a new time at 7:00.
Hey, glad to do my part to promote.
We appreciate it.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's hard because we got some great, and no different than this, but we got some great messages during the feed, and then afterwards that people had some fun. So before we left here Friday night, which I was exhausted.
It was a long day for you.
It was a long day, but I was just exhausted. And I just looked at Christine, and she goes, "We're going to do this again next week, right?" I said, okay. So yeah, we're going to do it again awesome. Friday night. We changed it up a little bit. We're going to have some other prizes. We learned a lot from the first night. So it should be fun. And thank you. And your gift card just dropped in the mail today.
All right, great. That's what we look forward. The things you look forward to now are deliveries from Costco or Amazon Fresh in the mail. And of course, when we get this stuff, my wife gets the disinfectant out and she wipes everything down.
Yes.
And then you wipe down the place that they were on because, you know, it's snowing COVID-19.
Yeah.
Well, you don't want to take any chances.
Right. Exactly.
We all look forward to getting an Amazon package. And in my neighborhood, it's not just your own house. It's now turned into
the whole block.
Tuning into everybody's Amazon packages. So when we see an Amazon truck, which happened the other day when we were outside with the front yard cookout, Amazon came and everybody was yelling to see who's getting packaged. So Kevin and I were laughing, and all of a sudden, it's the guy stopped once, and then he stopped again. So now it's become the joke of Elkhart Street about who's going to get the next package. So as a result of that, in the theme of what we're talking about, we've created Elkhart Street Bingo. And so we sent this to the neighbors, and this card is almost full. I mean, if we put some neighbors on here specifically, they would have a full card. But it's just funny that you say that. We all look forward to deliveries these days.
Yeah. Same. My block is the same way. I mean, we pretty much have at any time a postal truck, a FedEx truck, or an Amazon truck, or a UPS truck on the block at this. You know, at one time, there seems to always be a truck out there somewhere. So
And that's also like a game. You know, can I get a delivery?
Yeah, yes,
How many
yes.
times do I need to refresh before they
Yeah,
open up a slot?
before the time opens up. I will tell you though, Costco's good now.
Yes, I noticed that there was a change last week that they opened up a lot more slots.
Yeah. So
But with Costco, you know, I also found at the beginning I discovered that the more I tipped, the better chance I had of getting a slot.
Oh, so let me ask you a question. When you got your delivery, was your stuff in a box or a bag?
A box.
What the heck?
Ours was in a, but he also tips everybody. Well, we do too.
I
now,
had a
but
big tip on mine.
apparently
My
something.
stuff was just like on my porch. Thank you. Yeah, I was a little shocked myself, but it is what it is.
And as we're sitting here, I just got an update. Apparently, Amazon is back on my block making making package deliveries.
Your new neighborhood is my old neighborhood.
That's right.
Oh,
He
yeah.
lives near you.
I live on Corbin at the corner of Elkhart.
Yeah, maybe you tell me that. I have to say, it is a nice neighborhood. We were in Richmond Town, which was great, but I like here. We've got a great group of neighbors. It's relatively quiet, except for the school but it's really a nice neighborhood.
I always, you know, I live right across from the school, and I always liked living across from the school. First of all, we're having weekend parties. There's plenty of parking because you're not in anybody's house. But when we moved there, you also had the playground. So I used to pitch to my two older boys in the playground or play basketball with them. They've updated it. It's not as neighborhood friendly. We also used to where they're building the school now. That was like a downslope. So when the kids were little, if it snowed, it was a place to do some sleigh riding.
So we have a couple questions for you.
All right.
One is Red Baron says hello.
Okay.
Other question is, in your years of coverage of high school sports, which coach was the hardest to interview and which was the easiest?
Oh.
The hardest to interview was probably Jack Tracy, and he didn't coach that long. He was a baseball coach at Curtis. Jack had played professional baseball, and in fact, Jack should have been on the 1969 Mets. He was a second baseman in the Mets system, and there are different stories that I heard of why it happened, but he got passed over by Ken Boswell, and Ken Boswell ended up being the second baseman on that team.
Well, listen, Ken Boswell was Ken Boswell.
Right. But Jack had a reputation for being kind of, I guess, a hothead. And if you didn't ask Jack intelligent questions, it was a little bit intimidating to continue the interview.
Or what he would perceive to be intelligent.
Right. Right. Because he was, he played professional baseball and I didn't. So, I think from that standpoint, and this was a long time ago. The easiest person to interview was probably Sonny Grasso, who was the baseball coach at Moore for a number of years. Sonny was just a guy who also played professional baseball, but Sonny was salt of the earth. Sonny was the best. But I go back. I left the Advance in 1986, so the coaches that I dealt with were, we're talking about going back. We're talking 2 Tom Tierney's ago, So, and I covered, I did cover a lot of baseball and basketball. I didn't cover too much football. So, and I did cover bowling.
You did cover bowling. Yeah. Actually, I forgot to bring, I have the article that you wrote about Ray, the 10-pin wrap article. And it was when he first got the shop at Colonial Lanes, and it was a story about he was working for Frank Bianco,
Bless you.
and it was interesting. It was nice to see it. I was, I looked at the date and I was like, wow, that was a long time ago.
I think, and it's also kind of cool when I come into Rabs, and it's at least the last time I was there was an article about Rab in the lobby. So I still see would see my byline when I come in.
Yeah, we have another one of your articles hanging up in the shop too. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, you're still hanging around. You're still hanging around here, at least.
Amazing, right? I mean, like I said, I left the Advance in 1986. Although I still did some bowling coverage because I managed to get the New York Post to cover bowling once in a while when the pros were in the area. And I also continued to work for Bowling Digest and Bowler's Journal for a number of years. So I was still doing, I still had the opportunity to do some bowling.
How long were you at the Advance? I
started at the Advance as a high school, the week before I graduated high school in 1969, June of 1973. I started there, and when I graduated college, I got a full-time job there and stayed there full-time until 1986. And I had an opportunity to go to the New York Post, and the timing couldn't have been better because as a Met fan, 1986, they won the championship. So, and I loved the New York Post. I loved the New York Post was my go-to sports section other than ours, because I always thought the Advance did a great job with, the combination of local and high school and college sports, and the pros as well.
Yeah, and people underestimate, how difficult that is. How valuable like every inch of column is.
Right. So
to have a balance of all of those things with a local paper is pretty special.
When I started at the Advance, we covered the three major sports in the schools: baseball, football, and basketball. And you really only covered the boys' sports.
Right.
And then we started expanding to other sports. Although I think we did cover track and cross country as well. But then when the girls' sports kind of exploded, it was like you needed double the real estate in the section.
Paper, right.
And other things did suffer. Back when when I started there, every Little League game got a line score.
Wow.
And bowling, you ran team results.
Yep.
And so it was probably like a half page of a broadsheet newspaper page of bowling coverage. Yeah. And obviously that through the years, the paper doesn't get bigger.
Yeah.
And you got to share the space, and things just started shrinking.
Yeah. It's sad because people really don't understand that it's a business behind that, and little by little, I guess some of the complaining, I'm gonna take into consideration the Advance All-Star and some of the complaints that were made to the paper.
They're emotional. They're emotional decisions.
Correct.
Because, I missed out. I didn't have an opportunity to do something. And when you look at it from a business perspective, which is what they shared, it's not something that, hey, we have to focus. And so if Joe DiModio, when he was on, was sharing specifically, hey, we're down to a couple people.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't have the manpower to go out.
It's a big change. It's a big change in coverage.
And it's not, and it wasn't just the Advance, right? It's
all
print
newspapers.
media all over the place.
Right.
So, Joe, tell us about where you are now.
I now work for, I worked for the Post from 1986 until the summer of 1994. with a little break in between there when we were on strike and lost our jobs and had to reapply for our jobs. But I had the opportunity in '94 to go work for the teachers union in New York City, and they put out a paper that came out twice a month. And my old boss from the Advance, Larry Moraldi, was the editor, and he first brought me in to do some part-time editing in the afternoons because he was building a staff at the time. And by the end of that year, they added another full-time position. So I've been there ever since. And now I'm the editor of the paper. And that's why I had to bail on you guys last time, because doing the paper remotely is what we found to be very difficult.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
Especially when we got toward the end of the process.
right.
Because I'm the only one who has me and the designer. I've always worked from home, so I was always set up to work from home. Not that, I would go into the office every day, but if I had to catch up on nights or if I had a day where I couldn't get in for whatever reason, I always was hooked up to the system to be able to put out the paper. When we switched to remote, when this shutdown happened, my coworkers, our staff, they're not hooked up to the system. So they would write their stories in Word, and they would email them, and then I put everything into the system, and so it was very time consuming in terms of putting in the raw version, putting in the edited version, putting in everything we do gets that goes in our paper. Also, we run it by the union experts because we don't want them. They have to deal with whatever we publish.
Yeah.
So we don't want them to be surprised by maybe we would accidentally publish something that's not quite correct. And, it's important to have them see it before it goes in. So all those little changes I was inputting, and also then when our proofreaders, everything gets proofread 3 times, I was inputting those changes. So, and then since we're dealing with shipping and everything from our homes, every time you would call up a photo, it's coming through a more narrow pipeline than when you're at work. So it takes forever.
Oh, I like that.
For that to happen.
Yep.
So that's why it was like when we got down to putting the paper out, we thought we were going to basically lock up on the Friday, but we couldn't lock up on the Friday. We worked till 11 o'clock Friday night. We worked all day Saturday and all day Sunday to get it done. And then finally we shipped on Monday to our printer, which is located in Williamsport, Pennsylvania. So when that was done, it was like a few days where I was kind of like disoriented because it was just so intense.
Right.
Focus on the laptop, And the other thing is I get to do these days is I get to write a youth sports column for Staten Island Parent magazine, which I know you guys have at the center.
Yes, we do.
And in fact, one of the first columns I wrote was on the Larsons and your granddaughter.
Yep.
Sort of the Larson, the Brady Bunch of bowling, if I remember right.
Yep.
Yes.
What would you in your career? What would you say was the most memorable story you wrote?
The sport in terms of sports.
Yeah, it could be anything. It could be anything that you wrote that really stood out. That was that maybe made a name for itself, or that
the first story I wrote for Bowling Digest, actually, it was I had made some relationships with the guys at the PBA because back then when I started covering bowling was the late '70s, and Johnny Petraglia and Mark Roth were both living on Staten Island, and they were 2 of the top bowlers at the time. Both Hall of Famers now, and so when working for the Advance, I was whenever they were local, when they would come out and do the Long Island Open, I go out there for the weekend cover, and I got to know the press people from the Professional Bowlers Association, Jerry Levine, who was the director of operations at the time for the PBA, and they recommend. Actually, it was Lyle Zykes who recommended to Bowling Digest. They were starting a new digest magazine, Bowling Digest, and Lyle suggested to them that I do a cover story on um, the pressure of bowling on TV. And so I did, so they assigned me to that, and it was a cover story. And I had never written a story, longer than probably, I don't know, 750 words. And they wanted me to write, I think it was like 4,000 words.
That's a big jump.
Yeah, and I was intimidated by that. So I tried to, break it into pieces for myself and do it that way. And so when I got it done, I was like really proud of it because it was way, way longer than anything I'd ever written. Plus, it was the cover of a national magazine,
right?
And, and it turned out okay. And so I think from that standpoint, that was the most excited I ever was to see my byline and to read the paper.
That's cool. I bet you if I go home and I look through the box of magazines,
I'm sure.
I bet you I have it.
Yeah, I think I have.
And Lyle Zykes is still at it.
Is he really? What's he doing these days?
So Lyle owns a bowling center in Illinois, and he's still writing.
Wow.
Yeah, so he's still writing for a Bowler's Journal. There's a few of them. There's probably a group of 10 writers in and out between the magazines. He's still at it. Good guy, really good guy.
Yeah, he was a big help to me. He was a big help to me in terms of when I had to deal with the PBA covering their events, and then in terms of connecting me to some of these other publications.
That's awesome.
So you mentioned before you're a big Mets fan, if nobody couldn't tell already. So tell us about your Mets fantasy camp experience.
Well, if you're a baseball fan and you played a little bit, and I recommend that, if you get a chance to do these things. What I always tell people about Mets fantasy camp, and it's something I wanted to do for a long time, but it was expensive. It's $5,000, for a week of spending. The way the Mets do it. The Mets, every team does a little different. The Mets had at the time they had 1 week where you, the average Joe, can sign up to go play baseball for a week and be treated like a professional athlete. You have the locker room, you have your locker, and the coaches are the former professional players. Guys like Ron Swoboda, who I've done it 3 times, and Ron is my manager all 3 times that I've gone down there. I don't understand why he keeps picking me. But
They like your personality, Joe.
Yeah, maybe. Oh, actually, I think the last 2 times was because my sons were with me. The second time, actually, when I went down there, I went down with my 2 older sons, and they were 2 of the stars of the team that we won our championship that year, which was really cool too because you do the champagne celebration and everything else. But what I tell everybody about fantasy camp is that it's the reason you maybe are reluctant to do is because it's $5,000 on just you. It's not like my wife's gonna enjoy this vacation. But after you do it the first time, you say it's only $5,000 because that's how great an experience it is. We get to really know the former pros and guys like besides the old timers that I grew up watching, guys like Swoboda, Duffy Dyer, Buzz Capra, Doug Flynn, John Stearns. Then in the more recent guys that my older kids would be more familiar with or watched play, like Mookie Wilson, Lenny Harris, Doc Gooden, you know, and it's a pretty long list of guys. I mean, there are 10 teams down there. There are 2 pros per team, so that's like 20, roughly 20 some odd guys. Doc Gooden is sort of the royalty. He doesn't coach any teams. He just kind of roams the camp and sits and everybody loves him. Doc is, you know, Doc's had some difficulties. He's had some challenges in his life, but there's not a more down to earth, friendly, giving person than Doc Gooden.
Yeah, you know what? I've watched a couple of things on him and his struggles, and you know, you almost feel like that how he got caught up in it, because he was so down to earth and trusting that he just kind of fell into bad ways.
Well, I think he actually wrote about it with him. He had a cousin who was a dealer, and Doc was hanging out at his cousin's house, and he was drinking because, you know, he did drink. And then once his guard was down, somebody asked him to try, and that started him on the road. And, you know, this was the 80s, and cocaine was all over the place. And, you know, he just got caught up in it in a way that he still has had trouble getting himself out. But like I said, he is a fantastic human being. He really is a good person. He loves his family, and he always has his grandchildren with him when he's down at fantasy camp. One of his grandkids, and he's just so easy to talk to. In fact, when I was this year, Bobby Garzone is living down in Port St. Lucie.
Uh-huh.
Bobby came to visit me at fantasy camp one day, and I brought him into the locker room, and I introduced him to Doc, because Doc just happened to be, you know, passing by, and you know, he couldn't have been more gracious with Bobby. He treated him like he knew him his whole life. You know, took a photo of him, and even though Bobby said, "I liked you, bless you, I liked you better when you were on the Yankees," you know, he still was, really just friendly and accommodating with Bob.
That's cool.
That's cool.
That's awesome. And then you guys get your own jerseys and baseball cards. Is that true?
We get 2 uniforms, a home and away. So during the tournament, you're either home or away, and we get real uniforms that the players wear, the same exact uniforms. There's going to be a change now because Major League Baseball signed a contract with Nike, so our uniforms are, we'll still be able to use them. It allows us to save some money every year, because how many net uniforms do I need, right? They're going to be, now they're going to be made by Nike. But basically, like I went in 2016. Mets went to the World Series in 2015. So I have that same uniform that they wore in 2016 with the World Series patch on it.
Oh, nice.
And then the second year I went, when we won the championship, we actually got a championship ring.
Oh, how cool is that?
That's cool.
So, yeah.
So, super fan.
Yep.
Who do you play against when you say you won the championship?
We play against other guys like me. It's like the average guy can just sign up. You pay $5,000, and you go down there. The first day you're there, they have a welcome dinner the first night. Monday consists of sort of a tryout in the morning. 120 guys are trying out. The former professionals are grading you, and then when we're eating lunch on Monday afternoon, they're picking their teams.
Drafting. Oh, that's cool.
So then they come out at the end of lunch and they tell us whose team we're on, and then Monday afternoon we start playing. So we play Monday afternoon, and this year was a little different because they were doing construction in Port St. Lucie.
Right.
But we normally on a normal week you'll play Tuesday morning, Tuesday afternoon, Wednesday morning, and then after Wednesday morning they determine the playoff format, who qualified for the playoffs, and they'll play the quarterfinals on Wednesday afternoon, semifinals on Thursday morning, and the championship game would be Thursday night on what used to, now it's Clover Field, I think. It was First Tradition Field,
Right.
First Data Field when I played on it. But you play under the lights on the big field in the championship game, and then when it's over, you celebrate like other teams do. Other championship teams do on the mound, and they have a champagne for us, and we get shirts automatically. They bring out these shirts, and we put them on right away, just like they do in the big leagues.
So you're basically playing 2 games a day, pretty much. What position do you play?
This year I caught. I felt like I could do the least amount of damage as a catcher, and I would have the equipment on so I wouldn't get hurt that bad.
The tools of ignorance.
Exactly. There's no stealing. There's no stealing, so I don't have to worry about making any throws. All I have to do is catch the ball and be able to get it back to the pitcher.
That's a lot of squatting.
Yeah. What you do is you learn. What I learned was I haven't caught in really 40 years.
Oh my
And
God.
now this year I was picked on a team where I was the only catcher. So we were a little concerned that I'd be able to get through the week. And after the first day, I was pretty shot. But we do have, they have cold tubs where you go in and you kind of get rejuvenated, I guess. And I learned to pace myself as the week went on. I ended up catching, I think, 38 innings for the week. Dr. Shi, who was on my team, he's a lot of doctors go to the fantasy camp, believe it or not. They're doctors, dentists, a lot of guys with money.
I was going to say they're the ones with the money.
Anyway, he split it with me one day so that I could get a break. But the day of the playoffs, I caught 2 games. And in the semifinal game, I couldn't run, but I was too proud to ask for a runner. You're allowed to, since a lot of us are older, I'm 64, and there are guys there older than me. If you get hurt during the week, which happens to probably half the guys down there, you're allowed to have a runner. So I was too proud to ask for a runner, and I got a base hit to left field and was thrown out at first base by a lot. And I just couldn't run. Duffy Dyer goes, "You better hurry." He was coaching first base, and I just couldn't move. I tried.
Lot of, I don't, when I was younger and I played softball, I caught for a while, and that's a lot of squatting, and that's a lot. That's a tough position.
I enjoy it. I love, you're in the game all the time.
Yeah.
But I learned to, what I decided to do is I caught on one knee. Since there's no stealing, you don't have to worry about crouching. Hardly anybody bunts. There's only one problem. A guy hit a pop up in front of the plate in the semifinal game, and I tried to get up twice, and I couldn't get up. And Ron Swoboda, who loses his mind every once in a while over things we do, he started yelling at me like, "Why didn't you get up?" And I said, I tried. I tried twice. I couldn't do it. And he said, he just like laughed. He goes, "Oh, I guess you told me." Before we're done, I want to show you this.
Yeah, go ahead, show. Oh,
that's bowling ball.
Now, this look, maybe Nazareth would remember who used this ball. Anyway, Earl Anthony. This was the Earl Anthony ball. The Ebonite, I forget what the name of it was.
what is it?
Gyro balanced Magnum 6. That's what it was.
Oh,
And Earl, it has Earl's signature on it. But because of Rab had invited Earl to do a demonstration at Bowling on the Green, back when he was there. And so I covered it. And we went out to dinner that night. And anyway, Rab signed it for me. And he signed it right here. But you can't really see it anymore because my wife decided to clean it. And when she cleaned it, she wiped off the signature. And then she hid it from me so I wouldn't know that she got rid of the signature. So I had Earl's autograph, and obviously I can't get it again. She did the same thing with the Mark. I had Mark Roth when my son was a baby. Mark Roth autographed a picture, and I put it in his drawer. And I also that year covered for the advance. I covered the Sport Magazine NBA MVP, and it was Magic Johnson. So I got Magic Johnson to sign. It was my son's birthday. He signed "Happy Birthday, Joe. Best wishes, Magic Johnson." And I put it in the drawer, in my son's drawer. I mean, he was I think he was 1 or 2 years old at the time. And my wife threw out the Magic Johnson autograph because she didn't know who Magic Johnson was. And I guess it was taking up too much room in the drawer. So but she did keep Mark Roth's autograph because, that was the important one.
Oh, well, something got salvaged.
Yeah.
Hey, it's so funny. I have some really good pictures and photographs from that day at my dad's pro shop. I'm actually going to, if I do this, let's see if I think I could do this. I've got I got video just pulled up. Check this out. And it looks like it's that bowling. Well, it's not that specific bowling ball, but
We don't know. It could be.
I mean, it could be.
Well, I will tell you, I got this bowling ball from your dad.
Yeah. So this was inside the pro shop. Earl was there. Everybody came and got some bowls drilled. Did it? I know.
That is cool. Oh, wow.
Because this goes. I have the video is from. I don't know who took the video that day, but there's a really good video.
This Joey G. I think it was Joey G because Joey also took a Polaroid of me with Earl that I still have.
Yes, probably is Joey G. And I think he's the one that gave me the video later on. I got to pull it out because I should put that up on. I should post that. That way, there's just a little clip in that one video. Pretty cool.
Yep.
And I love hearing those stories because everybody who's still around that talks about it.
That.
Joe Labargo recently posted a picture of Dom and Earl inside the pro shop.
That was a big deal. That was a big deal.
It was a big deal.
So somebody else in our feed, one of our guests, who's also been to fantasy camp, says that they even have mock trials for misconduct on the field.
It's called Kangaroo Court. And Bobby Wine and Doug Flynn dress up as judges. And they're a little inebriated judges, but they fine us for different infractions that might go on during the week.
This really sounds like a lot of fun. It really
it is. It's you have the Kangaroo Court, you have one of the first year I went down there, we were talking to Edgar, my wife and I were talking to Edgardo Alfonso after the Kangaroo Court. And I was telling him that my daughter Nicole, who played at Moore, she wore his number on softball. And he said, call her up. So we FaceTimed her, and she wasn't expecting it. And when she answered the call, there was Edgardo Alfonso's face. And she had a mouthful of food. And so she swallowed whatever she had in her mouth, and then she had what she called the best FaceTime ever.
Yeah, I bet.
That's how great these guys are. They are so accommodating, and it really is a lot of fun. They treat us really. I mean, between the training staff, they have hospital for special surgery, physical therapists down there working on us. We have access to the jacuzzi and the cold tub, and we get, if you injure yourselves, they work on you right away if you need it, and you get iced after the games, and whatever the beer and soda, whatever you want to drink is there for free, and we get fed, and it's just we really are treated like professionals for a week, and you make some great friends as well. I mean, we have a Facebook page. I think it was 2 weeks ago. The guy who runs the camp got our cards because we get a video of the highlights of the week, and we get baseball cards, which we get like 300 cards. I have no idea what I'm going to do with, I sometimes give them out as an autograph card just as a joke. But they did an unwrapping of the cards, and everybody on we had a huge turnout of guys on Facebook Live or Zoom for this card unwrapping, and everybody it was great to see everyone, and it's a great fraternity of guys. And the amazing thing is, they increased it to 2 weeks, and it's basically it sells out every year before people even get a chance to try to sign up for it, because the same guys come back every year, and they come back to see their buddies, not just for the experience. It's great to meet the pros, but you make really great friendships. We see each other at Citi Field during the year. Guys have become very, very close friends where they travel and get together, and there are people from all over the country. So it really is. It was a great experience for more than just the obvious reason.
Right. Well, I'll tell you, I'm a little jealous. Have any women
Yes. Yes, there were 2 women who, that I know of that did it all the time. Now, one of them is Wendy Shotsky. She's from upstate New York, and she's actually a Hall of Famer. Wendy, I caught with this year because we both throw about the same distance. We both can throw about 60 feet, and that's it. So, but Wendy plays, and then there are a couple of women who are really good players. I think they played on the Olympic team. I'm really not positive, but 2 really good women that have played the last couple of years. And then there are 1 or 2 other women that have been coming down for the first week. So we had 4 women in our camp, and they play with the men. The camper, the guys who run the camp, before this COVID mess started, they were going to run 4 weeks this year, next year, and one was going to be a women's only week.
Oh.
But the women who play with us, they want to stay with the men.
Yeah, I bet they do. I bet they do.
And they're great additions. I mean, they're great additions to the whole week. And even though like maybe they're not all the same level in terms of ability, I would say a good part of the men also struggle. There are younger guys who are still playing, but there are guys in their 60s and 70s, who we struggle. I always say that the most important thing is get some. It doesn't matter if the guy can play or not, if he can run, but that's important,
Right?
Because if a pop up is hit 10 feet from you, you can't run for it. You're not going to catch it anyway.
Right.
Oh, that's funny. Hey, we have a real question here from the audience. Be careful how you answer this, but Joe,
Yeah.
who's your favorite kid?
Oh my God!
Do you want to take a guess on who asked the question?
I see. It's my daughter. Well, she knows that Willie is my favorite. Willie is our favorite, and actually now Michael is probably the favorite if you ask Nicole. So
That
I'm
sounds
the-
good for you in our house too, depending on the day, right?
Yeah.
exactly. My wife and I really been blessed with 4 great kids. They all do different stuff. They're not alike at all. And my wife did a great job raising them, and we're proud of all of them.
That's awesome.
That's good. Yeah, listen, in this climate, it's tough to raise kids. You'd think you do everything the right way, and you just hope for the best. But
Yep.
yeah,
Yep.
blessed.
I think like I said, my wife has done a great job, and we are we're lucky too. And I always felt like if you give them the right foundation, we all did things that we shouldn't have done probably growing up, but if you there may be different challenges for different people, but if you give them the right foundation, they eventually come back to it.
Yeah.
And like I said, we're a real close family. When we went to fantasy camp, not this year, but last year, the whole family was down there. So, we just really are a close group, and they are really our pride and joy, all 4 of them.
Oh, so sweet.
That is. They're all Met fans, right?
All Met fans. There's no choice.
That makes it so much easier.
There's no. In fact, I have season tickets with my 3 oldest. Michael, just graduated college a year ago, so it's not really in his price range yet. But with the older 3, I've got season tickets with the 3 of them. We have a 20-game package, and I always say that I love going to the ballpark, but the best thing about it is that I know that for 20 games, I'm going to get to see my kids. They have their own lives.
Yeah,
I know this is guarantees that I'm going to see them. I'm going to spend some time with them.
that's right.
20 games out of the summer.
Yeah, that's great. That's great.
Your friend Kevin Rourke says, "Poor kids." Poor kids that they're Met fans. Real nice, Kevin. Real nice. Hey, Joe, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
This was a lot of fun, guys. Again, thank you guys for doing this. Thanks for the Rotary Club for doing the bingo. We'll be in it again this week, and thanks for thinking of me.
No, thank you. And you're gonna. Naz tells me you're definitely coming back.
Yeah, I want you and Joe DiModio to come back at the same time.
Joe and I never worked together.
I
He started at the Advance after I left.
Uh-huh.
But I know Joe because he went to school with my sister.
Oh, I didn't.
He was on that More Catholic team that won the baseball championship. And I was working at the Advance back then. So
Yeah, so I'd like to have you guys on together just to see if there's, your different perspectives.
yeah, definitely. Absolutely.
Works.
All right, we'll make that happen.
Yeah.
Hey, Joe, thank you again. We'll
Thank you,
we'll
Joe.
catch up with you soon.
Okay, this was fun, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank
All
you,
right,
and stay
be
healthy.
well.
All right.
You too. You too. Bye bye now.
Let's go, Mets.
Let's go, Mets. You should have asked him.
Oh.
You should have asked him about the baseball season.
Hey, wait a second. Hey, Joe, you there?
Hey,
Yeah, I heard that. What was that?
So
I'm very good at thinking of questions after he says goodbye.
every time this happens, every time. What do you think about the upcoming baseball season? What prediction here? What do you think?
Yeah, I try not to get too worked up in things I can't control. I just kind of hope for the best. My kids are more into the speculation of what it's gonna, what's gonna be. My gut feeling is telling me there is gonna be baseball. My gut feeling is telling me, that it's gonna start without fans in the stands.
Yeah.
My youngest guy actually had a really fun idea. He said they should put iPods on all the seats or iPads on all the seats, and you watch the game from your seat. from home, and then you also have the volume, so you cheer from home, and maybe that pumps some cheering into the stadium.
That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, but I don't know if they could afford all those, especially the Mets. I don't know if they'd spring for all.
Yeah, the Mets are not springing for it. That's not happening.
But yeah, I think there'll be baseball. I like the current iteration where they break them up by geographic region, where the Mets and the Red Sox and Yankees and Orioles are all in the same division. There'll be three divisions. It'll be kind of interesting for the year. Kind of messes up postseason awards. If Jacob deGrom wins a third straight Cy Young, does it count? I mean,
right.
But I could see them also doing some kind of limited fans. Letting fans in on where they sit. They only sell certain seats, and you have to stay in the seat you're sold that you purchase, and maybe the vendors come to you at some point. If they're going to open bowling alleys in July, I think that at some point we've got to start getting together.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hoping for. I'm dying for some live baseball. Even the little. I would go watch the Little League. My grandson was supposed to be his 12-year-old year, his last year in Little League, and
right.
that's not going to happen. And it's just all the baseball fans I know are going through some serious anxiety over this, and hopefully, and I think there will be, at some point. We'll have to wait and see, like everyone else.
Yeah. So, what do you think about the A-Rod rumor?
Any owner is better than the current ownership.
I think that's a commonality throughout baseball for us.
Yeah, okay.
But I'm still got my fingers crossed that Steve Cohen will jump back in.
That would have been the best scenario. But hey, listen, maybe now, who knows how things shake out now, so maybe the price goes back down.
Well, they've already cut their employees' pay, so they.
Oh my!
Yeah, we'll see.
Okay.
All right, Joe. Hey, thanks
Thank you.
again. We will. We'll catch you later.
All right, we're definitely done now, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I won't call you back.
We'll catch you later. Go back.
By the way, Naz, I do the same thing. Every time I finish an interview with somebody, I should ask them this. I should ask her that. So I understand.
I'm in good company then. I feel good.
Delayed intelligence. It's called delayed intelligence.
That's right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joe. Be safe.
No, thank you, Joe. He's great. And we definitely need to have him and Joe DiModio come in. I'd like to hear the perspective of the different time frames of writing and then different people.
Yeah, and how the paper was different when they were both there.
Right.
When in their era.
Joe's focuses a lot of the online content versus paper. Right. Some of it is prepared for paper, some of it online only, vice versa. Yeah. So it certainly is a different. And then the people. I didn't get to ask Joe, but when he comes the next time, I want to ask him specifically. Hey, you've done some great interviews across anything, but let's talk about bowling.
Right.
Right. Hey, who? And then now compare it to if Joe's got the same perspective. Joe, it'll be Joe Square. Joe, the Joe Show.
It'd be Joe Show.
Yeah. So centers around the country have been opening in different ways. Based on what their local municipalities and cities are allowing. So we'll see. But, we'll be back at it soon. Thanks, Joe. That fantasy camp thing is really interesting.
Sounds crazy, right? I mean, I remember being a little kid and reading, well, not a little kid, a younger person and reading about it. And I was always like, oh, that just seems like fantasy camp. Yeah. I mean, it is exact properly named. I just think it's a great idea. Listen, if you can afford that, your significant other doesn't mind being dragged there for a week, and maybe
or
maybe
get-
that's
getting
a
you out of the
great
house for a
vacation.
week. Yeah.
Right? Maybe that's a great vacation. You go play baseball all day, and they'll go to the beach or do whatever else they would like to do. You never know.
I'm sure that's what happens.
Yeah.
Hey, our meme of the day, of course, in theme. Yes. May the fourth be with you. Who thought of that stupid joke?
You know what?
anyway?
That came up around the same time. I think. Maybe if this is older with Justin Timberlake. It's going to be May.
It's going to be May.
Yeah.
Oh.
I feel like that came along around the same time.
Yeah, Kevin asks a good question. So he's asking if we talk to other owners through the Bowling Proprietors Association or groups, and what are they saying it's like. Yeah, I do. So we've got a small group of proprietors that I talk to on a daily basis. And then through some networking groups, we hear and have conversations. BPA does facilitate some of that for us, which has been great. And that's where we've made the relationships. They're all over the place. We talked a little bit about it the last couple of days. One, you've got centers in Oklahoma that are opening. In Nebraska, they could have people inside the bowl. They can have people inside the bar as long as they're serving food, but can have less people in the bowling space. There are centers that are preparing for social distancing with literally plexiglass walls between pairs of lanes. There are a lot of different things, all positive. Everybody's looking forward to getting back to opening, but it really depends on where you are. The business takes a precedent over the decisions that you make. Your overhead costs, and could you run it? In some cases, can bowling centers run at 50% capacity,
Right.
which would be every other pair or every other lane? I don't know, but those are the conversations that we're having. Who's talking about taking the extra step and sanitizing, providing opportunities? We've got some great tools that have been set up for bowling centers, and it's still a learning process. We don't know. So the cool thing is that since we're going to be, I believe we're going to be of the end and the last to open. We're going to hear all the horror stories. We're going to hear all the good stories,
right?
And we're going to learn a lot from that. So everybody has an opinion, and so it also depends on where you are geographically. It definitely makes a difference. So we'll see. I don't know, but yeah, we're definitely talking. We're learning with others. They're in the news. Some bowling centers have done really well at 50% capacity. Some centers have opened in Georgia and have nobody coming in the center.
Because I think you still have to deal with people's fears of being around other people. Yeah. And I think that there might be a little hump to get over there. There are obviously people that, are like ready to get back at it, but there are, people who are worried.
Yeah, and then there are centers that are opening that are legally not supposed to be opening in certain areas, and you see that a lot in the sunny states. And we do pride ourselves in keeping a clean facility, and so it's ramping up a little bit more, just changing focus, and which is what we did right before we closed. Yeah. Just a little focus, making sure that people see certain things that we're doing. So we're talking about all the measures. I think it's more prominent for our open play business. For those that don't have their own shoes, don't have their own bowling balls, I think those are the people that probably will think twice. But I don't, we don't know. People want to get out of the house. They're going to have to do something, and we can't live scared forever.
No, you can't.
We have to be living in the moment.
It's right. It's going to probably be a different way of doing business at some point. It's somehow.
Yeah, and we appreciate all the great comments. Yeah, and we know we've got a great community around us, within and around us, and we know we're going to do the best we can. It's not going to be easy because we don't know. Yeah. Our overhead is tremendous, and we don't know what it's going to look like and what we'll have to do. But like I said, I'm optimistic because it'll be towards the end. We'll know a lot more what's going on. And again, I don't believe we live in the moment for sure. Yep. We can't live scared. Yep. We have to go out about our daily business, and we need people to be out, build an immunity, because that's the other challenge I think that's going to be created. Yep. People have to be around other people. So we'll see. But we're working on it, and we're optimistic, and excited to get back open because this is crazy. This is not what we anticipated,
No.
but we'll get there. And we really need your support.
Yeah,
So
we definitely
appreciate,
do.
uh,
We do.
we appreciate all that you guys do. And even just watching and listening to us vent, talk about nothing. But we're excited because we've got another week ahead here on Live from Rabs. We've got some great guests lined up. We will always talk about food. We'll talk about bowling. We'll talk about what's happening in our community around us.
Yep.
We have been extended to at least May 15th, knowing that if we are truly in phase 4, we've been extended past that, but we don't have a date.
Yes.
So we don't get excited
We'll
because nobody's given a true extension date. But when we get an extension
yet.
date, Naz, that's when we celebrate.
Yo, yeah. We'll have a little party.
Oh, hey, it's been real.
Well, that's what we do here. We keep it real. You know, we're not only real, we keep it that way.
So thank you for tuning in today.
Like and share.
If you, like and share and subscribe, make sure you get that notification when we pop up every day. If you're watching us later on, sorry you didn't get to join us live, but thanks for tuning in today.
Yeah.
And
We're
we
glad
look
you
forward
watched.
to seeing you tomorrow at 2 p.m. Until further notice. Naz?
That was awesome.